Lightning Speed 2 was revealed on July 12, 2015. Now, I already talked a lot about the intermediary period between LS1 and LS2. To recap, the first plan for LS2 was to rewrite most of LS1 pretty straight. I cut Iolana, Marley, Ellie, and Petal from the team, cut Jillian, Emily, Katie, Gloria, Kelly, and a bunch of useless Wonder Girls entirely. I was planning to give characters like Nano, Aspero, Jake's alien mom, and Emilio's wife real personalities. I was going to rework Leah's character. I was going to have Emilio leave the team when he got married. I was going to foreshadow Naomi's betrayal better. I was going to revise the Mandiborg scenario in Season 9. I was going to not put Timothy on the team even though he was still in the Season 11 finale just to die because I guess I was still that horrible. I overhauled the characters we now call Christina and Primrose. I changed the name of Jake's Dementia to Ilya. After that, I shaved off a lot of LS1 for the first planned iteration of LS2, essentially attempting to streamline the plot. I never revealed what would have stayed in that iteration, though. Well, now you're about to find out. I actually had notes for this reboot titled LS Reboot What Stays, which straight up lists out every single season of LS1 and what was planned to stay from every single one. For one, like I said in the retrospective, the Lightning Speed team for the entire series in this reboot was cut down to Jake, Rose, Mandy, Scylla, Naomi, Isabel, Gabe, Rita, Mason, Nano, Winona, Wreath, and Aaron, all of whom would have entered and left the team around the same times they did in LS1. Season 1 kept the Lightning Speed team into the jungle when the noted plus Eve here, probably denoting Eve versus Jake, was going to be merged with it. The Rise of Dahlia, Hannah Returns, and its sister episode, The Ghost of the Past, combined into one, and Welcome to Dubose. You might notice Nyla isn't here. Don't worry, we'll come back to her. Season 2 kept School Days, which is actually listed in the notes as School Dance for some reason, because I must have gotten confused or something. Running from the FBI, Dahlia's Action Rangers, The Truth Will Be Revealed, and Eve vs. Iolana. Season 3 kept A New Conspiracy, Lightning Speed Around the World, and Nyla's Death Cell's Turnaround, which actually had an arrow slotting it into Season 1 instead of Season 3. Apparently, Nyla's entire appearance all the way to Scylla's death, which would have killed off Scylla way too hecking early, by the by, were supposed to be summed up in a single hecking episode, and I have no idea how I would have pulled it off. Also, no, I don't know why it was more important for me to keep the Uhulu Island morons more than it was to keep Amito. Season 4 kept Gabe the Anuki and Running from the Government 3 and The Case for Jake smashed together into a single episode. For Season 5, I kid you not, my notes say to keep literally nothing. Frankly, considering the content in question, I'm not surprised. As I said before, Season 6 was actually what I turned to first when reconceptualizing Lightning Speed for a potential reboot, and was the only season I tweaked before moving into LS2. That's probably why my notes list The Race to Save Jake Speed, aka the Tumor episode, as also having an amnesia plot. Besides that, I also saved Rise of Anti-Jake, because how could I hecking not? Season 7 kept Prince Alan of Palentia and the World of Gwyneth, and I'm so glad to see that I had enough common sense to ditch Jake Speed's incredible adventure through time because I hate that episode with a burning passion. Season 8 kept only Wade and Winona. The thing is, I think I was planning on drastically changing the structure of seasons 8 through 13 and completely ditching the 3 teams gimmick, bringing everyone to Gwyneth instead, which would have been an at least decent call on my part. Season 9 kept Mandy's secret, and extremely bafflingly, Jake Speed's incredible adventure through time too. I have no idea why that one got to stay. I'm genuinely at a loss there. You might also notice that Scylla doesn't come back to life in this reboot. I remember that even at this point in the reboot process, I wanted Scylla's death to be much more of a driving character point for Jake, although that would have probably been far less impactful than I would have wanted it to be if she died in season hecking 1. Season 10 kept Another Day, Another Dictator, aka one of my least favorite episodes in the series, Kill It With Fire, and A Double Allen Catastrophe, which I actually opted to combine with The Chancellor Returns from Season 13, and it would have actually been a smartest frick move on my part. Season 11 just straight up doesn't exist in this reboot. Thank hecking goodness. Season 12 kept The Dark Puppet Master and Goodbye to Gwyneth, which was listed in my notes as Dahlia goes crazy and destroys Gwyneth. Even back then I knew it was up. Season 13 kept Reverse Role and Jake Speed Wanted Dead or Alive, listed in my notes as Jake kills people and stuff. Classy. Season 14 kept The World of Aurelia, probably also combined with Sydney and The Secret and The Test, because I can't see myself leaving those out, and one of the most baffling decisions in the entire reboot, shoving the entirety of the Naomi conspiracy arc into the Season 14 finale. Holy cow, would that not have hecking worked? Oh, that also means Season 15 isn't in this reboot. Season 16 isn't either, because I guess there was just too much filler. Oh, but the most baffling decision in the entire reboot is the fact that out of the entirety of season 17, only the finale, A Hero Deteriorated, was kept. What the actual frick was I high on to think that cutting out the entire reason that episode happened in the first place was okay? That led into season 18, the Leon season, which was so poorly chopped up to be shoved into a single episode that it actually makes me sob. It would have only featured the first episode of the season, the finale, and the episode with Sydney for some reason. It's so unfortunate. Season 19 was to keep Nias the Jailbird, the Reverse Eaters finale, and Nightfire, the latter of which makes me want to retract in on myself and die. I think I would have probably fixed that nightmare of an episode 10 Ways to Sunday. Frick that episode. Season 20 and 21 were supposed to completely cut out the dumb gang and only feature the Natalie rescue, probably also what happened with Sydney because I still would have been dumb like that, and Jake's final battle with Christina. The dumb gang was probably removed because by that point they'd already been transferred into The Show Must Go On and given new backstories to match the fact that they became Mario fan characters. Rest in pieces. Season 22 was to feature the beginning of the Jewel Heart arc, Nightmare's introduction, and the episode where Jake loses an eye in an alien war. It would have also featured Wreath's introduction, which was moved here from season 23 and actually placed before Nightmare's introduction. Interesting. Oh, another thing about Nightmare's introduction. The Area 51 episode in this reboot is also noted to happen in this version of season 22, and was also slated to happen before Nightmare's introduction, so it was highly likely that in this reboot, Nightmare would have actually possessed the dying Jake clone before ever meeting Jake, which would have been an interesting spin on his character in hindsight. I actually kind of love that. Season 23, besides the Wreath introduction, also featured Red's introduction, as well as, quotedly, more Jewel Heart stuff, whatever the frick that means. Heck, the finale of the Jewel Heart arc isn't even listed, so I'll assume it falls under that and call it a day. Season 24 featured only the Not Hunger Games death tournament. Season 25, though, was supposed to feature the dimensional rending thing. The most hilarious thing about that, if you don't remember, is that I can't for the life of me remember what the frick that episode even was. It's also crossed out on the reboot doc, which adds just that much more mystery as to what this whole thing was even about. Truly perplexing indeed. Season 26 featured, and I quote from the reboot doc, that dumb thing with the dead Wonder Girls, which can only be the episode where Wonder Girl X kills most of the Wonder Girls. It would have also had the episode with Flick, so it's clear the Wonder Girl X arc happened, but the details would have been greatly muddled and just shoved into a single episode probably. I just think my wording on that one is hilarious. Here's an interesting one. Seasons 27 and 28 would have been one episode each. One for season 27's Jake and Wreath go back to Gwileth, but Wreath gets pissy, makes Jake feel bad about himself, and causes Jake to freak off and leave Wreath alone with the team for an entire season arc. And the other for season 28's Here's What Jake Was Doing While He Was Gone arc. I don't even know why these needed to stay, but they're here, I guess. Season 29, the one with the Unknown Agency, would have also been a single episode, featuring only the bits relevant to the Unknown Agency. Season 30 is absent, then Season 31 features only Jake's sad death thing, and the side story revolving around that. The trippy death simulation Jake was in for an episode and the rest of the team trying to get him out of it, for those who don't remember. Season 32 would have revolved around the most important bits of the arc from that season, aka all the Red stuff as well as the Wonder Girl fights. Season 33 started the Globe Syndicate arc, although the details of what was actually included beyond Mason's breakdown over Roxy was never elaborated, although Season 35 does include Antius and Wreath's battle to the death over Mandy, Mallory and Nightmare's excursion into Globe territory, as well as Nightmare's ascension to Gremlin King, and Mason's Big Boom. I am incredibly sorry I phrased it like that. Season 35, the one where Wreath was supposed to go back to the past after he betrayed everyone and has that big realization that what he did was wrong, actually has a great big note that states, "Do nothing with this. Nothing." I was similarly skeptical with Season 36 with the note, possibly the arc about reclaiming Ilya, don't bet on it. Considering these two seasons were the end of the Globe arc, it's actually really confusing why I didn't actually choose to properly end it in the reboot. Anyway, Season 37 only featured the introduction episodes of Aaron and Yang. Season 38 never existed, so obviously it's absent. Season 39 featured Rose's incident with the headphone guy and her departure from the team, as well as that one stupid episode where Nice didn't want to wear his glasses, attempted to make them invisible, and blew up his entire house, making himself invisible in the process. Because I guess that was really important content. Finally, for the unorganized seasons, they would have featured the dimensional tearing arc that created Anomaly Wreath, for some reason, and a category called Stuff in Lombardus, which is mostly unelaborated on except for the Plant Mandy incident that gave Wreath this weird plant form, the one where Perellis goes crazy for some reason and tries to kill Wreath, and bafflingly hacking enough, The horrendous series finale I created, then disowned and apparently re-owned, then subsequently disowned again. That episode is straight up the bane of my existence. That's not the end of the reboot, though. You might have remembered that I said in the retrospective that there would have been side episodes that were part of their own collection called Extra Momentum. These wouldn't have been dedicatedly tied to the story of the series, but were more so filler episodes that I couldn't let go from LS1 and wanted to repurpose. This list was actually fairly long, and included The Origin of Ardenhurst, Down to Size, aka the Mouse People episode, Disaster in Dubose, aka the Tornado episode, The Incredible Adventure of Mandy and Isabella, aka the Stupid Uhulu nonsense, It's a Wonderful Life Jake, aka It Was All a Nightmare, the episode, Emilio and Annette Forever, Elan and Melian Queen, A Day in Someone Else's Shoes, aka the Jake and Rose Body Swap episode, Mysteries of the Cloud Kingdom, Revenge of the Cloud King, yes, the entire Mouse/Cloud Kingdom conflict was relegated to the side stories, Black Lightning versus the Silver Bullet, presumably without the Scylla coming back to life part, Return to the Mouse Kingdom, A Boy and His Duck, Frick, Kill It with Fire, A Storybook Ending, Seeing Stars, thank goodness I had the sense to keep that one, Jake for a Day, aka the one where Jake and Antia swap lives for a day because I don't know, The Rise of the Velixi, bless me for knowing that was great, Vanna Goes Solo, Lay Big Switcheroo, aka the other more confusing body swap episode, Rose's New Ride, Jake Goes Blue, The Problem with Blindness, Rose Thorn, aka the episode with Leon and Rose, which really makes me wonder how I plan to freaking structure this side collection if stuff like the Leon arc was going to be concluded, The Hero Exam, which was actually Leon's episode with Sydney, even though I also included it in the main series in the doc, The Reverse Lightning Team, Mandy in Wonderland, the George Washington episode, one of the episodes I chose not to talk about in the retrospective, Jakenstein Caesar, the episode with the Butterfly Girl, the episode with Wreath in the haunted house that's hilariously described in my doc as Wreath is scared of haunted houses but Mandy makes him go, the episode with Renee and Jonathan, the one where Rose attempts to hook up with Perlis to make Jake jealous, strangely nothing from beyond that point in the series, but actually, bafflingly, one of the scrapped episodes I talked about earlier, the one with Noir, described in the doc as Nias tries to help Noir. After the Rose and Perez episode, Doc just goes, and more, which actually kind of frustrates me, because if I'd actually continued, it really would have helped me remember more of that huge section of the series that was never recorded. Kind of pisses me off, but I kind of can't change that now. Oh, also at the bottom of the doc is a singular name, and I don't know why it's there. That name is Colonel Hiram Lewitz. Apparently he was planned to make an appearance in LS2 or something. The most baffling part is that Colonel Lewitz was never even a Lightning Speed character. He was actually from the Wonder Girl series and never made a single appearance in Lightning Speed. I don't even know where he would have appeared in this reboot. That still confuses me to this day. This version of the reboot was actually planned to be the roadmap for LS2 all the way up to when I wrote the first chapter of LS2, the Lightning Speed Team, which ended up combining the first 3 episodes of LS1 into one episode, as you might remember. Then I ended up having so much fun changing up the formula with the first chapter that I wanted to, well, keep changing up the formula. In fact, it wasn't more than 2 weeks after LS2 was revealed that the first iteration of Antius' new design was created. There actually wasn't that much about this version of Antius that's different from even how he's portrayed today, but there are 2 key differences. First of all, he had a demon form that looks extremely similar to his demon form from LS1, but if you notice, he also has a strange-looking necklace there. This necklace was actually part of Antius' design in late LS1, and it's actually Dahlia's robot eye that was given to him by Red after Red killed Dahlia for no reason in Season 32. I actually have no idea why I included it in this iteration of the LS2 design, especially since it disappeared very quickly afterward, being gone before Antius' new design went public. I should also mention that this new design being Antius was kept top secret for an entire year. Even so, I still flaunted it as the Prince. I know I also mentioned this in the retrospective, but I felt the need to mention it again. Then I already went over the story of what would have happened if LS2 had continued after Chapter 2, The Prince of Darkness. The team would have stayed in Dubose with Emilio, tracked down Antius while trying to keep from being discovered by the Wonder Girls, high school shenanigans were probable, and I mentioned Globe shenanigans. I mentioned that Globe were meant to be the primary antagonist group of LS2, consisting of Bianca, Jade, Dahlia, Chardonnay, Winona, and eventually Antius, Nias, and Red. What I didn't mention, though, was that this version of Globe was actually supposed to be led by Naomi, and the plot twist of all plot twists lifted straight from LS1. It was kind of way too obvious Naomi was meant to be antagonistic in LS2, though, just based on her attitude in Chapter 1. I kind of messed up on that one. Besides that, most of the main romantic relationships would have also stayed intact, those being Jake and Rose, Wreath and Mandy, Antius and Dahlia, and Nias and Winona. Yep, they all still would have been a thing. Red was also still slated to possess a Nias clone in LS2. This is why his LS2 design and even his early Diametrics design still have a maroon streak in his hair. This is meant to mirror Nias's pink streak and make it clear that Red's body is supposed to be Nias's even though he looks more like Antaeus. This would have been explained in-universe as Red simply wanting to look like Antaeus because of his obsession with him. This, however, leads me perfectly into the cut content of Diametrics. Now, there's not too much I can reveal here for spoiler reasons, but there are a few things I can say. In the retrospective, you might remember me talking about the very early things about Diametrics, codenamed LS3, that were eventually scrapped. The biggest of these things was the original scrapped pilot, if you will. As a recap, Jake's side of this pilot took place in Delma and featured Jake longing to be a superhero and meeting with Naomi, asking Jake if he wanted to come with her to Centralia to meet the Wonder Girls, and Antaeus' side took place in the snowy wastelands of Lilatia, where he was attempting to search for something with Renee and Rowan, being confronted by a member of the nearby research camp, Nikita, who takes Antaeus, Renee, and Rowan back to his place for the night before Bianca arrives, requesting that Antaeus come with her. Then a bunch of stuff changed, but we'll come back to that in a bit. Another thing I said was scrapped was Jake's name changed to Jake Sharp. After a while of the name change, I eventually decided I missed Jake Speed despite how campy the name was. Well, over the course of the last year, I was thinking about it a little more and came to another very important decision about the name. I'd been wondering for a while about whether to go with the late LS1/LS2 interpretation that the name came from Jake's grandfather who changed his name for a stage name and just never went back, but that started to feel really ham-fisted and dumb to me. Then I realized there's actually a really easy solution. Jake is actually the one that adopts the stage name Speed because of his aspiring to be a super cool superhero. With that, Jake's real name is once again Jake Sharp, stage name Jake Speed. His sister will just be Sydney Sharp. That kind of goes to show how much cut content I actually can't mention from Diametrics, because it may very well be recycled someday. I can talk about things that I know aren't going to be recycled, though. First are the changes I already discussed in the retrospective, like the fact that Scylla was originally meant to be included but was scrapped, the fact that the villain half of Diametrics was supposed to revolve around Antaeus but was later changed to Nias, Antaeus' personality changed back to Edgelord, Gwyllis' early inclusion and very quick removal from the series, the design changes of Rita and Mandy between their first Diametrics iterations and now, how Eve was re-included in Diametrics literally while I was releasing the retrospective, and how Vixen was reworked to compensate. Eve actually has a design now, by the way. She's a vampire. And how Antaeus and Nias were originally supposed to hang out on their own instead of coming back to the Villains League before that was changed so I could include the Villain Dorks. Still haven't come up with a new name for the Villains League, by the way. That one's been a thorn in my side for a good long while. There are some things, though, that I've actually reworked over the past year between the retrospective and now, though, that I can say. First of all, Winona and West are officially gone. I still can't reveal their entire debacle because that's still spoilers, but they were actually a pivotal part of the plot involving the Globe Corporation. They were scrapped after I attempted to tweak Winona's design to fit in more with the rest of the cast, and then I started wondering why the heck she was even still part of the story. She and West really did nothing for the story other than exist, so I made the decision to scrap them. I also made solid decisions on some of the characters I was unsure about in the retrospective. Dahlia is officially in the garbage can now, and as for the debate of Nikita versus Trey being the science guy for the Ravens, I actually decided with the help of some friends the exact same day the Diametrics part of the retrospective came out that Trey would be the one to stay, so he is now an official part of Diametrics. Nikita might still cameo though depending on how the story ends up playing out. I have not, however, decided how many Wonder Girls are staying on the Wonder Corps. I have only decided on Maggie and Lilac at this point, although like I said in the retrospective, Christina has been permanently obliterated from the series now. I hate her so much and never want to see her stupid face again. I've also decided some particular little things by this point that now mean I can reveal a certain character's purpose in the story to you guys. Strap in. Now, this isn't a new thing. It's actually kind of a Rose situation where I didn't want to reveal it outright at first because I thought it would be a secret to be revealed later, but I eventually decided to make it a known fact from pretty much the start. This is actually something I've been slowly and cryptically teasing over time since I first decided it after the scrapped first draft of Diametrics. Let me jump back in time and talk about Antaeus' jacket right fast. I promise this correlates. Antaeus' jacket was actually in a constant state of flux for a good long while. The first iteration of the jacket featured Antaeus' demon symbol from LS1, but by the time his design was revealed, the symbol was changed to an X with 4 dots surrounding it, referencing a scrap design for demon Antaeus in late LS1. This symbol kind of persisted for a while, also being present in some early Diametrics content, but I wasn't happy with the design and it kind of got swapped around a lot, even being used for situational images, like being changed to a snowflake for the Snow Day redraw and becoming many different images and different shots in the triple Baka animation. Then there was one shot in the triple bokeh animation with this symbol. This was also the first appearance of Antaeus' red pendant that would later be shown off in the piece that actually came out for the anniversary the triple bokeh animation was meant for, which changed the symbol back to the LS2 symbol. By the 9th anniversary, though, the symbol was back along with the pendant finally being revealed to be colored red. The symbol I drew on his jacket for the retrospective was also the same symbol. Now let's take a look at this symbol right fast. In fact, here's the symbol a bit bigger so you can get a better look at it. Does it look familiar? Antaeus in Diametrics is human. He has no superpowers. He's often seen, however, utilizing bright red magic. Boys and girls, the symbol on Antaeus' jacket is a chess pawn, and the pendant around his neck is actually none other than the Red King. He's been under your nose this whole time. Let me explain. For one, red is no longer a demon. I decided that after the retrospective. The final remnant of the demons and lightning speed has been completely abolished. Instead, red is now part of a magic-bearing race known as the Ancients. He was a nearly invincibly powerful king of the ancient civilization before being killed and his arcane power sealed away. Well, that power is actually found by Antaeus before the events of the plot, and through this, red becomes a symbiotic part of Antaeus, giving Antaeus the powers he uses throughout the series and occasionally possessing him. That's right, the new explanation for why red looks like Antaeus is that he literally is Antaeus. The whole thing about red looking like Antaeus was kind of exemplified from a goof-up early in the Diametrics area, where, without using references, I accidentally made an image where red looked identical to Antaeus, and when Diametrics started making red and Antaeus intertwined, the next logical step was to make them one and the same. So there you go, they're one and the same. Red isn't an enormous feature in the plot of Diametrics, but the fact that he's symbiotically tied to Antaeus means he's constantly present, even when he's just being Antaeus' power source. He's also still infatuated with Antaeus, by the way. That still has not changed. I wish I could talk a little more about the plot of Diametrics, but unfortunately there are some things I have to keep secret. I hope you'll keep following the progression of this story, though, because I've only become more and more passionate about this story since last year's retrospective. Here's to bigger and better things in the future. Happy anniversary, Diametrics!